So lessons from last time, before we go ahead, we saw three components of trust. First one was competence. Capability means the skills. Necessary diligence means to translate those skills or to translate the knowledge that we have into practical results. And consistency means to actually do it not just 1 day, 2 day, 3 days, but also for the rest of our life. So trust component is competence, and competence has three components. We also saw how an important component of trust is character, and character has three components. Benevolence means soft heartedness, to genuinely feel for others. Without that, trust is not possible. Virtuousness means that a person's life is based on some good virtues, on some base good qualities, not whimsically. And congruence means there is some similarity between what this person talks and what this person behaves. And then we saw how the last part was of connectivity. So in connectivity, we had approachability, that this person is really approachable. He's broad-minded. He can accommodate different opinions. And also he has gravity to understand that when somebody speaks to this person about some problems, then he really hears it and understands the situation and also maintains confidentiality. So that is where we ended last time. Now, before we begin today's talk, just like Dr. Kate was mentioning, today's talk is about handling distrust. It means for the last two sessions, we were trying to develop trust in somebody. But today we are going to talk about when somebody has developed distrust in us. And we are talking of situations where we did not do anything to invite that distrust. We are sincere people. We are trying to have sincere relationships. But even after we have sincere relationships, all of us have experienced that sometimes we will be misunderstood. So, how to handle that distrust? And that distrust is so painful. You are sincere, you want to do something for another person, you want to really give your heart to the relationship, but this person feels that you are not a trustworthy person. So when we are handling such a situation, it's really very painful. And that's why I want to first give a foundation to today's class. That today's seminar is based on, even though it is very painful when people distrust us, even though it is very painful when people misunderstand us, please do not immediately react. Please think over it and thoughtfully respond. Reaction is immediate and response is a calculated response. So people have full right to be reactive. But if all of us are really serious about maintaining relationships, the first thing we have to remember in maintaining relationships is we have to control the power of speech. The first thing that we have to learn is to use the power of silence. Many of us have used the power of words, but we have to use the power of silence. And anybody who is into giving speeches, anybody who is into giving lectures understands as important as the right words at the right time is also pauses of silence in between. When you give a pause when you're talking, it actually attracts a lot of attention from your audience and they're really eager to hear what are you going to speak next. Similarly, in maintaining relationships, this is something which is very important. So the top part of the figure is when you react. When somebody says something or does something to you and you fire back, you give a reaction. And what happens to the situation? The situation increases. It becomes unmanageable. It's like somebody starts a fire and you spray some oil on it. the fire is going to increase. But when somebody does something wrong to you, says something wrong to you, and you give a soft answer, you give some soft words, some kind words, you say sorry, or you give an invitation that let us sit down and discuss, then what happens? Slowly the situation is calmed down. So this is very important for all of us. When somebody distresses us, we have to give a very cool, well thought of response. And now we'll begin today's topic, responding to distress. So please see the word that I've highlighted. It is not reacting to distress. The word that I'm using is responding to distress. So any one of us, if somebody distresses us and we immediately fire back at that person, we immediately give a hot response to that person, this seminar is not for you. This seminar is for those people who want to maintain relationships, and to maintain relationships, they are ready to give a price. And the price is control their power of speech. So responding to distress. There are 5 tips to respond to distress. What are they? First thing is avoid panicking and mudslinging. Mudslinging means when I start throwing mud at you. त्याला मराठीमध्ये म्हणतात चिखल फेक करणे. First thing that we have to remember is चिखल कोणावरही फेकायचं नाहीये. Second is communicate and clarify. Third is initiate corrective actions and preventive actions. Fourth is while you are doing all this, demonstrate trustworthiness and continue to extend trust even though there is a feeling of distrust in you. And the fifth point is if none of these things work, please arrange for mediation through mutually trustworthy people. We'll see these points one by one. The first point is avoid withdrawal and mudslinging. So in our lives, whenever we are receivers of distrust, we have a tendency to go to extremes. What will we do? Either we'll go to withdrawal or we'll go to mudslinging. So withdrawal means आज मला आता कोणाशीच काही घेणं देणं नाहीये. I don't have anything to do with anyone. And whenever I invested in trust, people never believed me. People never really appreciated me. So now I'm going to a withdrawal mode. Another extreme that we go into is now all those people who distrusted me, now I'll show them who they are. And this is also similar to character assassination. So if somebody hurts me by giving me a feeling of distrust, I have the capability of giving 100 times more stronger feeling of distrust to that person. So in Hindi, this is called eat ka jawab patthar se. And the first point that we have to understand when we are trying to maintain relationships, even though we are receivers of distrust, is please do not go to these extremes. Yes. So don't go for inaction, nishkriyata, or don't go for mudslinging or character assassination. That is inappropriate action. First point is assuming that the person expressing distrust is being honest. कमीत कमी त्या व्यक्तीने मला सांगितलं तरी मला तुझ्यावर आता विश्वास राहिला नाही. Appreciate his or her honesty. What if this person was dishonest and this person never spoke to you that he or she has lost his or her trust in you? You would have continued for the rest of your life assuming everything is very sweet. But now you know it is not sweet. So at least a stitch in time saves 9. And when you appreciate the other person's honesty, then because of appreciation of that person, no, at least this person came and spoke to me. You do not want to go into a withdrawal mode. You do not want to go into a passive mode. Second point is by introspecting actions in the past. 2 years back also, there was some confrontation between me and this person. That time I had become very angry. What did I speak at that time? Did I use very harsh words? So if there is introspection about the past and we try to identify, was there any interaction in the past where I hurt that person? And that could have led to this distrust. So many times what happens is, just like in nature, we might sow a seed today, but the plant will come 7 days later. For some plants, it comes years later. Similarly, distrust, the cause is not something that we spoke today. Many times, when somebody expresses distrust in us, we say, क्या हो गया? कल तक तो सब ठीक था. आज सुबह क्या हो गया? And then we become foolish because the seeds of distrust have not been sown yesterday or today morning. They have been sown over a period of time. But it only matured today. That seed came out in the form of a sprout today, but it was sowed long back. So please try to go into the past and try to identify. So when you understand, yes, some years back, I had spoken very harsh words to this person. I had done something which will cause doubts in the mind of this person for me. Then this will help you to avoid mudslinging. It means you will not assume this person is anyways wrong and this person is 100 times more wrong. And now I will write a long email describing 100 faults of this person. Arey, look at me. My goodness is that I tolerated the wrongs of this person for so many years, but this person is showing distrust in me. Now I will show who I am. Both these words are of no use. All of us know the story of Dhruv Maharaj. So Dhruv Maharaj was not allowed to sit on his father's lap. And because he had a stepmother, Savatra Ai, सावत्र आईने सांगितलं, तुझ्या वडिलांच्या कुशीत तू बसू शकत नाहीस, माझ्या कुशीत माझ्या पोटातून जेव्हा जन्म घेशील तेव्हा तू बसू शकशील. So he's very angry and he's hissing like a snake and he goes to his mother. And some servants in the palace had already told his mother that Dhruv has been insulted. And when Dhruv comes to his mother, the first thing that Dhruv's mother tells Dhruv is, my dear Dhruv, I know you are angry, but my first lesson to you is, please do not be envious of those who cause you distress. ज्यांनी तुला तुझ्या जीवनामध्ये कष्ट दिले आहेत, त्यांच्याबद्दल मनात कधी द्वेष बाळगू नकोस. जे काही गरजेचं आहे ते कर, पण मनामध्ये मानसिक स्तरावर तू साफ आणि स्वच्छ राहा. So this is very important to maintain relationships. Please do not get into withdrawal or mudslinging. So a very wonderful example is Lord Ramchandra has been taken away by Marich in the form of deer, and he has left Lakshman to take care of Sita Devi. And then when Marich is killed, he duplicates Ram's voice and he says, "Hey Lakshman, hey Sita." He makes Ram's voice. And when Sita Devi hears that, she has so much love for Lord Ramchandra that she tells Lakshman, Lakshman, I think you should immediately go and save Lord Ram. Lakshman says, he's Ram. He cannot be hurt by anybody. You don't have to worry. But Sita Devi loves Ram so much. She is not able to tolerate that Lakshman is not going. So out of intense love for Lord Ram, Sita Devi tells Lakshman, Lakshman, do you have any wrong desires in your heart that you are allowing your Lord Ram to be in a problem and you are staying here with me? And this is a very big expression of distrust in Lakshman. Actually, much later, when Sita Devi is kidnapped and she is nowhere to be seen, and Ram and Lakshman are searching for her, and they reach Kishkinda Kshetra. After they make a pact with Sugriv, then Sugriv brings some ornaments that fell from the sky. So Sita Devi, when she saw down, she saw some monkeys, Vanaras, and she took off some ornaments and she tied them in the small piece of a sari and she threw them down. So those ornaments are shown to Ram, and Ram identifies all those ornaments and says, yes, yes, all these ornaments belong to Sita. And he shows to Lakshman. And what does Lakshman say? He says, Naham janami keyure, naham janabi kundale. He says, actually, I don't remember the earrings that you are showing to me. And I don't remember the, the bracelets, the necklaces that Sita Devi was wearing. But he says, all I can remember is the payal that she used to wear, because he says, Nityam Padabhi Vandanat. I used to always look at the feet of Sita Devi and I used to always offer namaskars to Sita Devi. So I remember her payal. Yes, this is Sita Devi's payal. So this is Lakshman who never even looked at the face of Sita Devi in those years. And Sita Devi is accusing him, do you have any wrong desires? Actually, it is a severe insult to Lakshman. But Lakshman practices a very wonderful principle. He does not run away from there and say, okay, I'm trying to protect you and you are making an allegation against me, so now you die. Or he does not make counter accusations against Sita by speaking bad words about her, because he wants to maintain his relationship with Sita Devi. He wants to maintain his relationship with Lord Ram. It's very important for us to understand. Although we feel like retaliating, we should not retaliate. The second point that we want to speak on is communicate and clarify. So when distrust is perceived, often the person will not come and tell you, you know what, I have lost my trust in you. ऐसा कभी कोई बोलेगा नहीं. But this person will definitely become disinterested in talking to you. The tone of voice will change. It will become a cold voice, or the body language may become very disinterested. So suddenly that person is not talking to you with emotions. That time, it's very important. If you have not spoken harsh words, then you communicate your perception. You say, my dear friend, is it that I have hurt you in any way? Is it that I have lost your trust in any way? And first confirm that your perception is right perception. It has to be confirmed from the other person. So actually, this thing is very important, that we communicate and clarify. So let's say the person on the right is experiencing a perception of distrust from the person on the left. He feels that the person on the left is having distrust on me. So it's very important that he asks a question. He communicates clear to this person, say, okay, did you feel that I was dishonest with you? Do you feel that whatever I did it on purpose to harm you, to trouble you, to disturb you? So there could be a perception of distrust. It may be wrong, it may be right. But whenever you feel there is a distrust expressed towards you, please communicate. Please get it confirmed. And in this way, you can ask more such questions and get a clear understanding what exactly has hurt this person. Yesterday, when we were all together, our friends were sitting and I laughed on this person. But actually, the joke was cracked by somebody else. Somebody else was cracking a joke and I just laughed. But maybe, even though the joke was cracked by somebody else, my laughter could have angered this person. Yesterday, it was this person's birthday. And I phoned him at 12 o'clock midnight because I wanted to be the first one to wish him. But probably my friend was deep asleep. And when I phoned him at 12 o'clock at night, he became really irritated. And he asked me, are you sure this is the right time to call? Or maybe it was that. So if we experience a perception of distrust, then we have to communicate and we have to get a confirmation that yes, there is something wrong in the relationship and the other person is genuinely hurt by the way we behaved, by the way we talked, by the way we had some interaction. So after it is a confirmation, then point number 2, after understanding clearly what caused the violation of trust, clarify what exactly happened. So then you can mention, because in the beginning we said we are all sincere people, we never wanted to hurt anybody. So you need to clarify. Actually, you know why I laughed? I laughed because I wanted to create a happy atmosphere in our friend circle. Do you know why I called you at 12 o'clock midnight? The only reason why I wanted to call you at 12 o'clock midnight to wish you happy birthday was not to disturb you, Baba. I wanted to call you at 12 o'clock midnight because I wanted to be the first person to wish you. But it seems you are irritated. So please clarify what went wrong and please clarify what was your thought process. When you are doing this, do not minimize in any way the other person's feelings or emotions. Sometimes what happens is we are misunderstood. For example, this case that you called up somebody at 12 o'clock midnight to wish him birthday and then he got irritated. So then sometimes we laugh on that person. Hey, first of all, I'm calling you at 12 o'clock midnight, and instead of appreciating me, you're angry at me, you fool. No. Distrust originates not from the head. Distrust originates from hurt emotions. Trust is a product not of logic. Trust is a product of emotions. So, very important that even though you feel you are not at fault, do not minimize the other person's emotions, because already that person is hurt. And when you laugh or when you crack jokes on the other person, it can really hurt him or her more. Fourth point, please stick to mentioning only the sequence of events. Please do not give any recommendation. So you say, I saw in the calendar and it was your birthday and it was already 10 o'clock at night. And I said, I want to be the first one to wish you. So I stayed up for 2 hours and that's why I phoned you at 12 o'clock. But till now, I never wished you at 12 o'clock at midnight. So it seems if you're angry, next time onwards, I will not wish you at 12 o'clock midnight. Just speak the sequence of events. त्या दिवशी काय झालं माहितीये का? आधी मला असं वाटलं म्हणून मी तसं केलं आणि त्यामुळे माझ्याकडून असं बोलल्या गेलं. तू वाईट नको मानू, but don't give any recommendation about what should have happened. Actually ना ते तसं व्हायला पाहिजे होतं. Actually, you should have understood my emotions properly. When I'm trying to call you at 12 o'clock midnight, you should have understood me properly. Do not give any advice. Do not minimize any emotions. Just clarify what happened that day. What was your thought process? This is very important. So, Bharat Maharaj, when he returns to Ayodhya from his maternal uncle's home, and he understands that his mother Kaikeyi has done so many things, thinking that Bharat will like it, Bharat is experiencing distrust. Bharat is thinking, in my whole life, did I do something that gave an indication to my mother that I am hungry for this kingdom? He's experiencing distress. Look at the emotion on Bharat's face. He's shocked. So, very clearly, he communicates, I do not have any such intention in my heart to replace my brother Ram. And he clarifies with every other person, including his mother. He goes to Kaushalya after visiting Kaikeyi and he tells Kaushalya he is distrusted. But he tells Kaushalya, I did not have anything to do with this conspiracy. It is a misunderstanding by my mother. And he clarifies that he is not part of this. Every other person, it is the Mantri Sumantara, or it is Guha Nishadaraj, or it is Bharadwaj Rishi, every single person who has misunderstood, Bharat goes to every single person and communicates clearly what is the situation and clarifies his situation. To the extent that after all these people, just to communicate and clarify very clearly with Lord Ram, Bharat Maharaj goes to Chitrakoot. And he does not go alone. Just see his sincerity. He carries with him all his mothers. He carries with him all his ministers. And he carries with him all the important people of Ayodhya, because it's very important for him to communicate and clarify. So in front of all these big people from Ayodhya, he travels from Ayodhya to Chitrakoot, which is a long distance. And in front of all, he falls at the feet of Lord Ramchandra. And he explains to Lord Ramchandra, I am not part of this conspiracy. This is not what I wanted. I want to communicate very clearly. I'm not part of this. And he clarifies how he has been distrusted. So this is very important for us. Point number 3, initiate corrective and preventive actions. Many times we feel, अरे सॉरी बोललो ना एकदा, काम झालं आता. जास्ती काय मोठा तू बाऊ करू नकोस. Don't make a big issue out of all this. Verbal apologies, sorry, I'm sorry, and assurances of prevention means मी तुला आश्वासन देतो, मी आता बदलणार. They are not sufficient to restore trust. Actually, there has to be clear and visible efforts to avoid past behavior. So sometimes when I'm talking to devotees, I've heard how devotees tell me, how can this person behave in this way? And after this person has behaved in this way, he just said sorry. There is such a big impact of what this person has done. And now he's just saying sorry, and there is no commitment to change of behavior in the future. So there has to be very clear changes to avoid past behavior. Every gentleman and every gentle lady understands there can be thousands of mistakes by any one of us. But after somebody points to us that mistake, if somebody comes and tells us, तुझ्याकडून ही चूक झाली, हे तू असं नव्हतं बोलायला पाहिजे, हे तू असं नव्हतं करायला पाहिजे. Actually, if we are gentlemen, we accept it and we actually make a visible effort to change that past behavior. That's very important. So in the Ramayana, Lord Ramchandra makes a pact with Sugriv. Sugriv's wife has also been stolen, and Lord Ramchandra's wife has also been stolen. So they both make a pact. But after Vali is killed, what happens to Sugriv? Sugriv forgets his promise. And for 4 months, he completely forgets and he is having a good time with his wife. At that time, Lakshman becomes very angry. And Lakshman goes to Sugriv and says, do you know you promised something to Lord Ram? And Lord Ram fulfilled his part of the promise. He reunited you with his wife, with your wife. What about you doing your part? So Sugriv basically becomes ungrateful. And when we become ungrateful, we actually become a great fool. When somebody does something good to us, we have to remember it and we have to reciprocate with it. So what happens? After Lakshman goes and tells Sugriv, Sugriv realizes his mistake and he comes and begs for forgiveness. So we can also do a lot of mistakes, but at least when somebody comes to us and points to us our mistakes, we should come and beg forgiveness. So here we see Sugriv, Lord Ramchandra thought, I did my part. I fought with Vali, I killed Vali because it was only for the reason of helping Sugriv. Vali never did anything wrong to me. Vali never hurt Ramchandra. But Lord Ramchandra, just to help Sugriv, and in that pact, he had agreed to help Sugriv. He did this. So Lord Ramchandra did what he was supposed to do. But Sugriv, he broke the trust. So Lord Ramchandra is experiencing distrust on the side of Sugriv. And as soon as Lakshman tells Sugriv about this, then Sugriv comes and initiates corrective and preventive actions. Fourth point that we want to discuss today is, even if all this is happening, we have to demonstrate trustworthiness and we have to keep on extending trust. We have to keep on giving trust even to those people who are experiencing distrust from us. Words are not sufficient. Actions should compensate for the lack of trust. So I came across this very beautiful quote. It says, trust takes years to build, seconds to break, and forever to repair. So please treasure it. It means we have to focus on this. Trust takes years to build. And if you break trust, which has happened with us, it will take forever to repair. It will not take years to repair because it takes years to build. So last time we discussed how if there is a stone tower, it takes years and years to make a stone tower. But once it is destroyed, it takes almost forever. It will take more than forever to rebuild that stone tower. Similarly, trust is also like a stone tower. It takes very long time to build trust and it takes forever to repair it. So what has taken years to build will definitely take forever to repair. It means trust development is a journey. It is not a destination. You have to build trust over a period of time. It will not happen in a single day. It will not happen in a month. It will not happen in a year. Usually, for people to develop trust in us, we actually have to behave in a way that they are willing to invest their trust in us. So on the screen, you can see trust development is a journey. What about trust redevelopment? What about trust repair? If trust development is a journey, trust repair is the longest journey. So, because we are talking about handling distrust, we have to understand that utsahat nishchayat dhairyat. We have to have a lot of enthusiasm for rebuilding trust. We have to be very fixed up in rebuilding trust. But the most important point is it will take unlimited patience to rebuild trust once it is broken. We can never ever demand, why is it taking so much time for you to rebuild, reinvest your trust in me? Because it is we, because of some of our actions, we broke that trust. So the responsibility is on us. And a very wonderful example of this is how Bharat Maharaj, after he begs forgiveness from Lord Ram, he demonstrates trustworthiness. सिर्फ बोलने की बात नहीं है. I was not part of the conspiracy. All this was done behind my back. It's very easy to speak. But how will you demonstrate this trustworthiness? You take the sandals of Lord Ramchandra, you bring it back, and you are staying in a hermitage, you are staying in an ashram, you put the footwear of Lord Ramchandra on the throne, you are worshipping it every day. So the distrust that happened, the conspiracy happened, was over in a few days. One day, Kaikeyi invited Dashrath Maharaj. Dashrath Maharaj was shattered. Dashrath Maharaj called Lord Ramchandra. Lord Ramchandra agreed to go to Vanvas. Next day, he went for Vanvas. And in Ayodhya, there was a forest. The city turned into a forest because the Pran, the main person of the city, had gone to the forest. So the forest became Ayodhya and Ayodhya became forest. So in a matter of 1 or 2 days, everything in Ayodhya is from the spiritual world to hell. वैकुंठातून त्याचं परिवर्तन नरकात झालं. But to rebuild that trust, to allow people to invest, reinvest their trust in Bharat Maharaj, what did Bharat Maharaj do? He did not worship the Paduka of Ram for 2 days. For 2 days of distrust, he worshipped the Paduka of Lord Ramchandra for 14 years. So he is actually giving so much time to demonstrate trustworthiness. He is telling by his actions to everyone around him, मैंने केवल बड़ी बड़ी बातें नहीं की, मुझे देखिए कैसे मैं आज भी ये मानता हूं कि मैं राजा नहीं हूं. मैं हमेशा से यही मानता था कि भगवान रामचंद्र, मेरे भाई, बड़े भाई रामचंद्र ही राजा बनने चाहिए. And I was misunderstood, and Kaikeyi misunderstood me. I communicated it, I clarified it, and now I'm demonstrating trustworthiness. So Bharat Maharaj ruled on behalf of Lord Ram for 14 years. Also, Bharat Maharaj extended his trust to Ram. See, Kaikeyi misunderstood Bharat, Kaushalya misunderstood Bharat, Sumantara misunderstood Bharat, Guha misunderstood Bharat, Bharadwaj Rishi misunderstood Bharat. It was a good assumption if Bharat would have said, if all these people have misunderstood me, I'm sure even Ram must have misunderstood me. And actually, if you see, anybody and everybody other than Ram, including Lakshman, misunderstood Bharat. So when Bharat Maharaj reaches Chitrakoot, and there is a lot of dust rising in the sky because of this huge army coming to Chitrakoot, Lakshman actually feels for some time, maybe it is Bharat Maharaj who is coming here with an army to destroy us, and he's ready to fight. So in reality, every single person actually has experienced distrust in Bharat Maharaj, but Bharat Maharaj has the strong faith on Ram. So there is 100 chances, there is 100 reasons to believe that Lord Ram must also have experienced distrust for me. But Bharat Maharaj fights all these 100 reasons with one reason. And he says, no, Lord Ramchandra knows my heart. He can never misunderstand me. So Bharat is extending his trust to Ram, and Ram in return is also extending his trust to Bharat Maharaj. When Lakshman tells him Just see, this Bharat is so cruel. He wants to kill us in the forest also. Ram says, Lakshman, without talking, without hearing from him, do not speak such harsh words. Let Bharat come. If he wants the kingdom, I will forever stay in the forest. I told my father that I will stay 14 years, but for the rest of my life, I will stay in the forest. But let Bharat speak it. So, even though there was a fear of being misunderstood, Bharat continued extending trust and traveled all the way to Chitrakoot, trusting Lord Ram. And Lord Ram also reciprocated with the extension of that trust. And he also extended his trust to Bharat Maharaj. Bharat has not talked to Ram, but he believes Ram cannot misunderstand me. And Ram has not talked to Bharat, but Ram tells Lakshman, Bharat cannot do this to me. This is called trustworthy behavior. And even though many people are saying, how could you do this? But Bharat has this trust on Ram. So we have to extend trust even though we are experiencing distrust. This is very difficult. When everyone is doubting us, it is very easy to say, ठीक है ना, आप लोग मुझे डाउट कर रहे हैं तो मैं भी ऐसे ही बिहेव करता हूं अभी. No. Even though people may be doubting us, actually, for a gentleman, for a sincere person, that time is a time of testing. When people are distrusting us, when people don't believe us, that is exactly the time when we have to actually behave in such a way that people are ready to reinvest their trust in us. And this is very, very difficult to do. So the fifth point that we are going to speak is, if nothing of this works, then we have to find out some mutually trustworthy people and bring them into a mediation exercise. So sometimes both parties may be so hurt and so angry with each other because of trust violation that they won't come together for reconciliation by themselves. आमने सामने बैठेंगे ही नहीं, बोलेंगे अभी इसके साथ मैं नहीं बैठ सकता, अभी इसके साथ मैं बात नहीं कर सकता. At this time, a third party intervention is necessary. So some qualifications. Such a third party must be trustworthy to both parties. Both parties should say, yes, I don't trust you, but I trust this third party person. This third party person or this third party team should have no personal hidden agenda. Why is the third party being invited? To act as a mediation between two parties that have lost trust in each other. So they should not have any hidden agenda. They must be really sincere. And before the mediation starts, both parties, based on the trust they have on the third party, they must be agreeable to recommendations of the third party for reconciliation. So both parties must say, okay, after the mediation, whatever he or she says and whatever he or she recommends, we will follow that. Otherwise, the third party will hear everything and then will suggest, okay, now we should do this. And one of those two parties will say, I'm not ready. So then the whole mediation comes to a standstill. The whole mediation is a useless mediation. So these are these 5 tips. I am stopping here. Thank you very much for your patient listening. If somebody has any question, then you can ask a question. Yes. It's very important to have at least 1 or 2 trustworthy friends in our life, because when the whole world distrusts us, at least we should have one place on this planet where we can go and actually reveal our heart without the fear of being misjudged. Because people do keep misjudging us. You know, what we speak is misinterpreted, what we behave is misunderstood, and what we stand for is sometimes criticized. And so over a period of time, if we are repeatedly misjudged, if we are repeatedly misunderstood, actually we stop expressing ourselves. And we say, मी काही बोललो तर नेहमी काहीतरी त्याचा चुकीचाच अर्थ निघणार आहे. मी काही केलं तर त्याला काहीतरी चुकीच्याच दृष्टीने बघितलं जाणार आहे. आजपासून मी कोणाशी काही बोलणार पण नाही आणि कोणाला काही करणार पण नाही. And that is not very good for us. That is not very healthy for us. So at least we have to invest seriously in a relationship with at least 1 or 2 friends. And we have to find out time from our busy, extra busy schedule. And we have to spend quality time with our friends. And that quality time with our friends will not lead to any professional development, will not lead to any social development. will not lead to any financial development. It will only lead to emotional development. So what happens to successful people is they are very intelligent, and because they're intelligent, they are very successful. And because they're very successful, they're very busy. And because they're very busy, they do not have friends. And because they're successful, they become the objects of envy of other people. So there is always some competitor, not for unsuccessful people. There is always a competitor. There is always somebody to pull you down for successful people. Who wants to pull down an unsuccessful person? Yes. So it's very simple. You are intelligent, so you're successful. You're successful, so you're busy. So you're busy, so you don't have time for friends. But because you are successful and you don't have time for friends, there is another factor because you're successful. You're successful means there is somebody planning to pull you down. And when somebody pulls you down, because you never invested in any friendship, you never had time to talk to friends, you are devastated. You are destroyed. So successful people will continue to remain successful if out of their busy schedule they have they are habituated to find time for friendships. They have to bond with people who are interested in them, and they're not interested in their success. They are not interested in their money. They're not interested in their finance. We have to find out such people, and we have to, they are available. It's a question of finding, and it's a question of really giving quality time to such relationships. And if we don't do this, we will become prisoners of our success, and we will be punished by the jailer of this habit of no time in the prison of our success. We will become prisoners and will be punished by giving us uh, misunderstanding and a feeling of distrust. So we have to be very careful. We have to give quality time to our friends. We have to give quality time to those. At least when we talk to some people, we feel he has the potential of understanding me. This person, there is no chance that this person can understand me. He never even talks properly with me. But at least this person, he always has greater sync of feelings with me. This person has a greater sync of emotions with me. And in this way, you invest in that relationship. In this way, you develop that relationship. Of course, no relationship is made in heaven. And it's not that two people are born and right from day one, moment one, they're really very perfectly fitting into each other. No, relationships are supposed to be built. Relationships are supposed to be developed over a period of time. So thank you very much. Yes, one of our participants has raised his hand. Yes, Shreyas.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you. I want
Yes.
to thank you for this very beneficial and useful talk. Especially in the age of quarrel, there are so many instances. I can already relate to so many instances in my life that you described that are applicable, and based on the pointers that you have given, there's a lot of scope for application. I also wanted to point out few things that you mentioned in the three talks. So the first one I really like, where you said that relationship is among many other points, that trust is recalibrated in every interaction. So that is something that was totally new for me to concept to me to understand that, and it makes sense now that you described it. And in the second talk, you said that the description of the self-deception, integrity, honesty, this difference between the four points. So that was very useful.
Unconscious incongruence, conscious incongruence, conscious congruence,
right,
and unconscious congruence.
So that was extremely useful to apply. And then today you talked about responding versus reacting. So that's also something that we end up, reacting too quickly. And even if response comes later, if at all, it takes even more time to apply that response because you've already reacted. And like you said, the trust has already recalibrated with that reaction.
Yes.
So
thank you for your points. One thing I would like to mention is, who reacts? It is not foolish people who react. it is intelligent people who react because they are so fast, they are so smart, they are used to taking fast decisions. And because they're intelligent, they're successful, they're respected. So every decision they have taken in life is a fast decision and it comes out right. Similarly, when somebody shows distrust, they immediately give a fast reaction. And that is where intelligent people make mistakes. So relationship problems, I can honestly tell you, are experienced mostly by those who are highly successful and those who are highly intelligent. People whom you might call them as not so successful, not so intelligent, we say street smart. It is street smart people who will experience relationship problems because relationships are not built on smartness. Relationships are built on sensitivity. So if you are one of those smart people who can decode any problem, and in your company, you are the person whom they say, he's the smartest guy, you have to be very careful with relationships and you have to be very careful with trust issues. Generally, people who are not so smart are strong at their heart. They are not strong at their head, but they are strong at their heart. So so-called foolish people, so-called unsuccessful people, they very rarely experience problems in the relationships. But it is the highly successful, highly popular, highly smart, highly intelligent people, they are the ones who experience relationship problems. So we have to be very careful. And it is these people who are very, quick in their decision making. And most of the times their decisions are right. But in relationship issues, they're wrong because they react. And relationships means slow, 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 5 times slow, 5 times. You have to be extremely careful. You have to be extremely slow in giving your response.
Thank you very
So
much.
thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all for your patient listening. I'm really grateful to all of you for giving me a chance to speak on this very important topic of relationships. I'll stop here. Thank you very much.